Hello, everyone. It's not Tuesday again. It's Sunday, June 23rd, 2013. And I actually recorded the Harp Tuesday episode this Tuesday, but wasn't happy with what I did, and then got busy with an orchestra concert, so didn't manage to get anything out this Tuesday, but I thought I'd give it another try. And what I'm going to do is really just condense. I'm going to talk about transcribing the Beethoven Sonata number 23, the Andante, the slow movement, which I just recorded on my new CD. And what I'm just going to focus on is this idea of pedaling, and in particular, managing to change a bunch of pedals at the same time, which I'll talk about in a moment, but also just sort of a general overview of approaching challenging spots in terms of pedaling. And what I mean by pedaling, of course, is that idea of, writing down on the page when and where you're going to change the pedals in advance. And of course, as you learn to play the pedal harp, there are some pieces where you can just sight read it in terms of the pedals. You don't need to worry about planning in advance. There's a G sharp coming up, we'll change the G pedal. And then, it's back to natural, we'll change it back to natural. But in some pieces, you have to do a lot of planning and figuring out ahead of time how you're going to change things. And so I'm just going to talk about approaching basically this one spot, and then I'll talk a little bit about a spot later on as well. So the piece starts, of course, with this beautiful so far so good. And then we get this spot, and it's really, suddenly bang, we have this chord where we have a B double flat, in other words, an A natural down the bottom. So we have to go from an A flat to an A natural. We have an E natural, a G natural, and then this D flat, which is the same. So three new tones, three pedal changes, and then immediately afterwards we're back to all flats. So so yikes, suddenly you're thrown into that. And so the first thing, of course, you do when you look at something where there's a bunch of pedal changes is, can I change some of those pedals in advance? In other words, maybe it looks like there's three pedal changes going on, but can I get some of them ahead of time? And right away we can see that that's not going to be a complete solution, because even if we have that A, E, and G set ahead of time so that this first chord is okay, right after that we're going back to flat, so we're going to have to change those. So it's not a solution in this case, but that's definitely the first step, is to say, hey, I need this G natural and this A natural, but maybe I haven't played the A for a long time and I can just change it to natural. I got plenty of time to do that ahead of time, and then to change the G right when I need it, or etc., that type of thing. So in this case, then the next sort of step in trying to figure out what to do is to think about enharmonic spelling. And enharmonic spelling is basically that idea that you can write a certain pitch, a certain tone, several ways. A B by any other name would be an A sharp. Anyway, so for example, this B flat is the same sound as an A sharp. And if you were singing, it wouldn't matter how they're written in terms of how you produce the sound. If you were playing the piano, it's always, whether it's an A sharp or a B flat, it's always just that black key right in between the A and the B white keys. But on the harp, it makes a big difference how that's written, because it's different strings and different pedal settings required. So sometimes we can use that to our advantage. In other words, let's say we need a B flat. We're chugging merrily along with the B natural, and then suddenly we need a B flat, and maybe we've just played that B. And we don't necessarily want to try to be changing that ringing string, or for whatever reason, it's not going to work to play that as a B flat. Well, maybe we can play it as an A sharp instead. And then hopefully there's no other A required. So that's one of the first things then you can look at to see, well, let's see how we can do this enharmonically. So in this example, let's just take that change from the natural, there we go, to the flat. How could we do that differently? Well, right away we see that this A natural, or this B double flat, the only way we can produce an A natural, that sound, that tone, on the harp is with the A string in the natural setting. Same as with the G natural. There's no way we can double that with a different string in a different pedal setting. So those for sure are going to stay. The E, of course, the E natural, we could play it as an F flat instead. Okay, cool. Now, what about, again, if somehow we could get all these settings, all natural, or we could have that F flat ahead of time, we immediately have to change to the flat. So how can we manage that? Well, this G natural, as I say, has to be played as a G natural, but can we double the G flat? Can we play it differently? Well, we could play it as an F sharp. G flat and F sharp, the same sound. So then we could go from this this G natural to a quasi G flat to this F sharp without having to change anything. Cool. How about getting from this A natural to A flat? Well, we can play that A flat as a G sharp instead, but we have G natural right in the chord before, so making it so the pedal change is, instead of going from A natural to A flat, we're going from A natural to G sharp, doesn't really help us. It's all over here on the right hand side, and it's still a pedal change, so that's not going to help. So we might as well assume that we're going to change that A. How about the E? Well, if we were playing that E natural as an F flat, we can't double the G. We can't use the F sharp for the G. So let's say we have the E as an E natural, and then this E flat could be a D sharp. But hey, wait a minute, this chord has a D flat up on the top here. Well, we could have that be a C sharp. C sharp and D flat are the same thing. So you can see you can sort of fall into the rabbit hole and start changing all these different things. Okay, so that means we would just have one pedal change, right? We start with this, so natural, 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 and a C sharp instead of the D flat. And then we're going to change the A on the bottom, great. Play that E as a D sharp, play that G as an F sharp, and of course keep playing that D on top is a C sharp. So cool. Well, that's easy enough. That works. But then, of course, we look at our bigger problem, and that is looking at stuff that's happening ahead of that and stuff that's happening afterwards. Because immediately afterwards, for example, we're going to need a C natural, which we could try to double with this B that we haven't used yet, and we're going to need an F natural, and of course, beforehand as well, we need this F natural. We need guess we don't need that C. That's for a long ways. So it's possible that we could try to finagle some stuff, but it starts to, you run into these complications where you're just changing a whole bunch of pedals and then it doesn't work. But that's kind of a look at how you use enharmonics to solve certain places. And later on the second page in this slow movement, there's a spot where I do use enharmonics because we need a G natural and a G flat at the same time. So of course, you can't be using the G string for both of those. So there, I use that F sharp. What do we get here? So that's a spot, where the enharmonic idea does work. But for this spot, it doesn't. So what else could one do? Well, the next step is to think about maybe I need to change keys. Because sometimes you can fix... So for example, one of the problems with this, we have 3 pedal changes right there. And one of the problems with that is they're all on the right side of the harp, right? So for example, if you have 2 pedal changes, it's easiest if they're on opposite sides of the harp so that, both feet can just be changing one pedal. And if we transpose this up or down enough, probably up, we would get to the point where some of these pedal changes would start to come around onto the left foot. So, and sometimes it's as simple as just moving it up half a step. So for example, I remember working on the piano version of Pictures and the Exhibition, of course the original, and I think it's the Old Castle. Etc. I think it was written in B, and it turns out with all the sort of like double sharps and stuff, that it's actually pretty hard in B, but it's really easy if you just move it up half a step and play it in B flat. And those might be the wrong keys, I can't remember, but anyway, sometimes it's as easy as that. Sometimes it would require actually taking the whole piece and entering it into your favorite music notation software and transposing it, and might be a bit of a hassle, but it could possibly solve problems like this. But of course, it doesn't address the central idea of having to change, say, 3 pedals at the same time. So what I ended up doing is something that I'm going to actually show you in a different video, because I'm going to change angles and show you my feet and talk about how I ended up changing all 3 of these pedals at the same time. So hope you enjoyed this part of the video, and you should be seeing a link to click to go on to the second part. Cheers.